The MASC Red Book assessment is designed to assess struggling third and fourth grade students. And remember that you need to have printed out the assessment pages, the booklet pages, as well as the recording sheet, and done the cutouts or organized the cutouts for this book. When we go down to the recording sheet, you'll notice that each of the questions is pretty much already scripted for you. So you'll be able to start with number 1. You'll need to have 34 blocks or counters pre-counted. I don't recommend using the Unifix cubes because the students can really take a long time to snap them together, even when you ask them not to. But if you put 34 blocks, sort of scatter them on the table, you'll be able to ask the student to put the blocks into groups of 10s. And when they're done with that, and there are going to obviously be some in a leftover pile, then you're going to be able to ask how many are there now. And here's where you get a chance to see how strategic students are, understanding that they can just look at 3 groups of 10 and say 30 and then add 4 more on, or whether they feel like they need to count individually by ones or do skip counting 10, 20, 30. You're going to be able to write your notes for each question anywhere in the margins, or sometimes there's a comments box that you can add notes in. You may also want just another piece of blank paper to put your notes on. Question 2, you're going to go up to the first page of the booklet, and you'll notice that there are a set of rows of dots. And what I do is I take a piece of white paper and hide all of the dots except the first row of 4. And then I'll just say, do you see 4 dots? And then I'll slide the paper down and show the next row, and I'll just say, here are 10 more dots. And then I'll ask the first question. So how many dots do you see? And now you get a chance to observe. Does the student have a strategy for putting the 10 and 4 together, or are they starting and just counting by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc.? When they have the answer of 14, I'll slide the paper down 1 more row and say, here's another row of 10. Now how many are there? And again, you get to watch and see what the student is able to do. If the student is continuously counting by ones from the very beginning, each time I slide down a row, I don't go all the way through all of the rows. But if the student is using another kind of strategy, I will continue to show the next rows of 10 to see if that strategy is stable or if they switch to a more advanced strategy as we move through this. When you look again at the recording sheet, the next question, or after those 2 questions, you will be able to think about whether you saw the student primarily counting objects by ones, or doing some kind of skip counting by 10s, or just realizing that you can just know that if there are 3 groups of 10, you just say 30. You may not have time to fill these out thoughtfully while the student is working with you, so you can always come back after the assessment is over to decide where to rank the student in each of these groups of questions. Questions 3 through 6 are another chunk. These are the word problem questions. And remember that the student is not going to be using manipulatives, and they're not going to be using paper and pencil. You're really trying to see what they can do mentally with these. Now, if you have a student that just is really struggling to do any of them mentally, you certainly can provide the manipulative, but I don't do that at first. I make sure that they really need the manipulative before I make that decision. As you ask each of these questions and they tell you the answer, be sure to ask follow-up questions. Ask, how did you get that? Unless you can already see they're using their fingers. If they're using their fingers, you don't need to ask the follow-up question, but otherwise make sure that you ask so that you can find out if they're counting in their head, which would be an AC, advanced counting strategy, or if they're doing some kind of part-whole strategy, in which case you would either be placing them at part-whole early additive, or if they continue to use the part-whole strategies for questions 5 and 6, they might even be at the part-whole advanced additive level. When you get to question 7 and question 8, You want to be really strategic with this. When you show them the visual of the trees, the first question is just how many trees are there in the forest altogether? And I tell them that there are 5 trees in each row. One of the things you're going to be looking for is, are they counting by ones? Are they skip counting by fives? Or are they able to just realize that 5 times 8 is 40? Once they've told you how many trees there are in the forest, then you'll be able to ask the follow-up question, what if we had 38 trees we wanted to plant with 4 trees in each row? How many rows would we need? So now we get a chance to see if they are able to reorganize their thinking around that. Question 9, you're asking the students to count from starting at 687, and then when you look at the actual directions, you'll notice that you'll just tell them to stop at 703. That's what's in the brackets. And for question 10, you'll show them each number, you'll ask them to read the number to you, and then ask them to tell you the number that comes right after that. Question 11 and 12 are similar, only now you're going backwards. Question 13, here's the first question you'll need cards for. I make sure that I've shuffled the cards ahead of time, and I'll flip them one at a time up on the table and ask the student to just read it to me. And I'm noting whether they have a sense of how to say fractions. If they say 1 and 2 or something like that, then I'm pretty sure that they need more work just understanding how to say and read fractions. When we get to question 14, I give them all of the cards and ask them to put them in order from smallest to largest. If they do it correctly with 1/6 smallest and 1/2 largest, then I'll ask the follow-up question, why do you think 1/4 is less than 1/3? When you get to question 15, the correct answer is 14. It takes 14 $10 bills to make 140. And question 16, the answer is it would take 430 $10 bills for A, and for B, it would take 43 $100 bills. When you get to question 18, you're going to use another set of cards that you've already cut out. And question 20 also has a set of cards for it. When you're done with question 20, you'll be able to ask the students the basic fact questions. I tend to try and do all of the addition all the way across first, unless the student's getting stuck, in which case I may not do every single goal, and then I'll go back and do all the subtraction. Don't try and flip back and forth between addition and subtraction every single time. And then, if you think it's appropriate, you can try some of the multiplication and division. Again, if you don't feel the student's ready, you don't need to go all the way through. When you're done with the entire assessment, remember that you're going to need to type up your results for each question, describing what the student did for each question, and then on the ones they struggled with or got wrong, providing some insights into what you think they may be misunderstanding. Okay, so enjoy your time with the student, and we'll be looking forward to talking more about this on the class where it's due. Thanks. Bye.